Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Cammy Goes Keto, where I'm here with Mike Collins, the sugar free man, and the founder of the Quit Sugar Summit. And his website is sugardetox.com. He has a 30-day challenge that you can go there that I highly recommend when you're ready to stop the sugar. And you can't wait till you're completely ready because you'll never be completely ready. So you just have to go for it. This is kind of a tricky time to be doing it with the holidays coming up, but hey, that might be a pretty good time. And so we're here today to talk about how to have sugar conscious holidays, how to make yourself conscious and aware of what's going on with your sugar intake from here on out till the beginning of the year. So this is kind of what I think, Mike, is like the sugar season, right? Like
Yeah.
it starts at Halloween and it ends at New Year's. And there's
Yep.
just, when I used to practice medicine, they would bring in these huge baskets just with all this junk laid out and all over the place, and you would just eat it. And then the next week they would bring another one, and another group would bring another one. And sometimes they would bring fruit, but not very often. And I didn't go for the fruit. I went for the sugar stuff.
Right.
So we're going to try to hopefully give you some tips and some tricks and some things here about how to make it through your holidays intact.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think it's a good one. I mean, I think there's nuances to behavioral change around sugar, and the holidays are absolutely one. I think I was listening to an old. Actually, I think I posted it, but it was an old clip, and people struggle at the holidays, right? They're like, and there's a lot of people in our groups who've got 200, 300 days. They started last January, and some that's got 20 or 30, and they're petrified of the holidays because it's such a triggering time. And so we're here to give you just the nuances of getting through to the other side. One thing I want to qualify is you don't have to be perfect with this. This is not maybe the time for you to quit. But what it is time for you to observe both yourself and the people around you and observe the sugar around you, what's going on, right? We were joking that, every alcoholic that I know went on a bender before he went into treatment. And that just sets you up for a first of the year, if that's when you're deciding to go, for just failure, really, because it's so much harder if you're coming off of a lot of use day in and day out. You have a lot of the physical stuff to deal with. You've gone through the holidays, which is an emotional time in general with family, and unresolved things in families and unresolved things at the holidays, and your goals and your finances and all that stuff. You're thinking about the next year. So please, if this is your time, start today. Go zero. Go no sugar. But if it's not, we want to get you through so you're ready to go on January 1st.
And so, what is your take on trying to decrease your sugar intake before you stop completely? Like trying to wean off certain foods that you know are your biggest triggers, but keep your smaller items until like you're ready, or creating a stop date, or what
Yeah,
is
no,
your philosophy?
it sounds like a logical construct. A lot of people think that and titrate down, or step down, and maybe if you're drinking 3 colas a day, get yourself down to two, and then down to one, and like that. Or you're not using in your coffee. If you take from 4 teaspoons to 3 teaspoons, like that. And like you say, your mainstays, whatever that is, whether it's soda or candy bars every day. But here's the thing: 57,000 detoxes later, and of those 57,000, I would have to say, I don't know the numbers, but I guess it's over 50%. I know that, where people have tried and failed and come back, and they've tried this method, you know what I mean, where they'll cut back, cut back, cut back. But here's the thing: what we've discovered is that the day you go zero is the same whether you came down or whether you started, whatever. The only difference is what I mentioned earlier is that you're just feeling sicker and more withdrawn if you've done a lot. So it is a little bit helpful, marginally helpful, but you're still going to go through the same process of withdrawals, your same anxiety and worry and fear and hunger and irritability and the headaches and all that stuff is going to be very similar. Okay. So don't be going on a bender because that just makes it worse. But whether either way you choose, titrating down or just, um, you know, going wherever you are to now is going to be fine.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember honestly when I first started 2 years ago to really watch my sugar intake. Well, I started by going low carb, right? So I started by watching my carbs.
Yeah.
And then in the process of trying to get my carbs low, that's when 2 months into it, very quickly, I realized that it was the sugar that was a big one. Sugar was a big problem for me.
Let me jump in there and tell you what you did and what people figure out is exactly the process or the problem or the worry. There's such a big push around low carb and no carb and keto and carnivore and all these other diets that are low carb and no carb that all of our clients traditionally, and this is along my contemporaries as well, um, are women between 40 and 90 or 45 and 90. It's actually probably 50 and 90, but premenopausal women. And I think they discover the exact same thing. And this is what we're trying to get to for the holidays here is that yes, you want to lower your carbs and your flour intake, but moreover, you want to lower your sugar intake, okay? Because it's the fructose in the sugar, the other half of the molecule, that is really keeping you addicted, keeping you stuck. It's what's affecting your brain and nucleus accumbens and your emotions and stuff. It's the fructose half. And a lot of carbohydrates don't have fructose in it, rice and potatoes and like that. Some do, sweet potatoes and stuff, but not as much as straight table sugar in a treat of some kind. So please, try and remember as you're observe the people who are, carrying a couple extra pounds or the people who are having a tough time in their life. Um, you know, Look at their plates, take a look and see what they're taking at the dessert table and what they're eating. And you'll start to realize this, I don't know, protocol or this method that Tammy and I have been describing over the years. Um, what's going on with the folks, okay? And then you're observing your own cravings and desires. If you're having a dust up with Uncle Fred, and Uncle Fred's always an ass to you, and then you feel like going to the candy thing, the sweets and stuff. Recognize that. Just be aware, almost like that meditation thing where they say, be above your body and look down on your behavior and match it with your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. And if you can get to doing that, if you can understand that over the next 2 or 3 weeks or a month when, the holidays are going on, you can launch into January confirmed in your belief that maybe Mike and Cammy aren't crazy, and that the emotional piece of the puzzle is more important than the actual sweets or whatever food you're eating.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that you can do is you can pay attention. Like one of the things that I do when I'm at parties is I look at the people who are healthy. I look at the people who
Right.
are thinner and who are in better shape and who have a physique that I'm looking for. And I see what they're eating on their plate, and it's very different than what the other people are eating on their
You
plates.
almost never see dessert on their plate, right?
Right. It's like when I used to go to all the galas when I was, practicing medicine, and they would always have these big, these sit down dinners, and they would always bring dessert. And I never understood how the people didn't finish their dessert. The thin, healthy girls would take 2 bites of their dessert and be done, and I'd want to eat my dessert and theirs and hers, you know?
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
something else that you can pay attention to. Yeah, so we're trying to, in this video, help you remember to raise your level of consciousness, right? You want to be aware of what's going on with your life, with your thoughts, with your feelings, and with your sugar and your food, and how that's playing into it. And what can you do differently? Awareness is the first thing that we need. We have to be aware of what's going on, because that can begin some change.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you've seen it, the Black Friday or even before Black Friday on Thanksgiving Day, where everyone is stuffing themselves and then in front of the couch watching football is passed out. The same thing happens on Christmas and whatever. You just have to pay attention to the behavior that goes on during the holidays, right? There's no reason that you should be passing out after that meal like any other meal of the year. But we feel obliged to overeat, and the overeating is not the turkey and the green beans. It's the the mashed potatoes and the muffins and the rolls and all that kind of
The
stuff.
stuffing and the pumpkin
Stuff,
pie
pumpkin pie, exactly, exactly.
and
And
the
it's
seas.
almost like you have to. It's like you don't have to, guys. You don't have to.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm doing for my holiday personally is that I'm looking at it, my holiday months, as the way that I did when I went on my Alaskan cruise, because I made a decision at that time that I wasn't going to eat any dessert.
Mm,
And I was debating whether or not, like, okay, well, I'll eat dessert that just, I'll eat just fruit and berries when they're all eating their dessert, or I'll eat dessert that's mostly fruit or that doesn't have chocolate on it, or I'll eat this. I was trying to figure out, and it just got so complicated. And I just thought, Cammy, just don't eat the dessert. I mean, just don't go there. And then I was like, wow, that's so simple. You just don't do it.
yeah.
So, for the cruise, that was easy because, it was easier because it was, what, 7 days. If you're talking about 2 months now, that's a little bit trickier that you're going to have to
Well, you're
manage.
spreading it out, and that you're bringing up a good point, which is the in between the holidays themselves, right? Where there's parties and, as you were mentioning, big bowls of whatever out in front of every business, and you've got this. Again, people feel obligated to eat stuff if it's free. If they got bowls of candy out or bowls of cookies out, they feel like, well, it's free. I should have them. It's just not true. And I think you'll start to really recognize, again, this is the precursor to your January 1st attempt. And here's the thing, and I try not to guilt people too much or shame people too much, and I don't think this is either. It's just a subtle reminder, uh, like how many January 1st New Year's resolutions have been about weight and diet and health for you, and some people need that reminder to move away from and to begin the process early, to change the way that they do it. No bender for the next 2 months. Just an awareness. And if you want to jump on our challenge, as you mentioned, our 30-day challenge, jump on it now. You can always restart it January 1st, but you'll get all that information, you get all that community, you get all people who are already sugar free. A lot of them who are a little scared, even though they're sugar free, trying to go through these next couple months. So if that's something that's of interest to you, go for it, sugardetox.com. But, you know, what we're trying to get at here is that change the way that you've approached your goals for January 1st around weight and health. And that revolves around how you participate in and observe the holidays. And just if you just change that little bit, that little nuance, I think it'll help you out a lot.
Yeah, that's great, Mike. Like, one of the things you can do, there's, some physical examples that you can actually do is, you can call, if you have family members that are having Thanksgiving or having, the holiday dinner, you can call them ahead of time and ask them what they're preparing, ask them what's in it, ask them if there's going to be any sugar in it. You can make sure that you bring a dish that's something that you like, that's not going to, make you want more and more of the sugar, something that's healthy that you enjoy eating. Or you can eat a big salad before you go. I know I used to try to do that. I would eat, a big salad before I would go to the party. And then that way you would eat less during the actual party.
I
Things
love
like,
both ideas, both of them, really.
yeah, yeah, things that you can do. And I actually had my sister once call me and say, "This is what we're having at this party. Are there things there that you can eat?" And
Mm.
I just thought that was so wonderful because what they did was they were putting some sauce on some meat and they pulled some of the meat off to the side for me first. So that when I got there, I had my own little like special stuff. And then I didn't feel like I was deprived or anything. I felt like special because I get my own little plate of meat.
And
So,
now you're bringing up a really good point. And I get this a lot because people honey baked hams and these kinds of things. But most commercial turkeys, write this down, gang. Most commercial turkeys are injected with solutions that include salt and sugar. So you really have to, if you're the buyer, you're the person cooking or whatever, please keep an eye out for this. Try and get an organic or whatever way you can read the ingredients, because it's weird that a turkey would have ingredients, but it does. Um, and be careful there. You know what I mean? Just be careful for yourself. And what the suggestions Tammy's giving are really good, in that more tips and tricks to mitigate your sugar use at bigger parties or celebrations, or Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. So yeah, be careful. Again, I don't want to belabor this, but I do want to make this January 1st different for you. We want to make it so that you're ready, prepared, convinced, if you will. And I think the observational part of it, convince, watching your family, watching your own cravings and desires during it. If you slip, it's not a big deal. If you have a little something, something, it's not a big deal. But be aware. That's all.
so I have a question for you about that.
Yeah.
When people are trying to figure out if they're an alcoholic or not, one of the things that I tell them, I say, well, see, try to quit drinking. See if you can quit drinking for a while. And some people are able to quit drinking for a month or longer or 6 months, and you know, they go back to the drinking, and the drinking is more and more detrimental to them. But the majority of alcoholics, I would say, cannot really quit drinking when they seriously try to quit drinking. And that's
Yep.
what happened to me. I couldn't quit drinking. I had tried, I was stashing bottles. I was, trying. And then I ultimately ended up drinking when I was pregnant with my last son. That's how I knew that I really had a problem, because I knew better than that for
Right.
sure. And I wasn't drinking a lot, but I was drinking. So, do you think that it helps people if you say something like that to them? Like, hey, go see, if you can go 1 or 2 weeks without the sugar, pay really close attention, cut your candy bars out, see how your life goes, cut the soda, cut the trips to the McDonald's for the ice cream or cookies or whatever they have there,
Yeah. No.
McFlurries.
I always think that that type of self-evaluation, in a lot of ways, this process of change is about a self-evaluation, not only a process of discovery, but a process of acceptance. And this is what you're describing is like, okay, intellectually, and maybe you've known for 3 or 4 Thanksgiving. I talked to a woman this morning who came into our program 3 years ago, right? And she's just now calling me for coaching. You know what I mean? It's like, so intellectually, she's known what she needs to do, but emotionally and in reality, she's not been able to do it. I mean, my line is always, if I told you to stop eating steak for a month, you'd do it. And you say, I like steak, whatever. Or broccoli, no broccoli for a month. Well, okay, no broccoli. I'm vegetarian, but still no broccoli. You could do it. But when we tell you to quit the sugar, like you were describing with the alcoholic, there seems to be this grown adults, lawyers, doctors, multimillionaires, Olympic athletes, we've had them all. They can't do it. They can't just put one consecutive day after the other consecutive day. They've tried cabbage soup diets. They've tried Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig. They've tried every fitness program, shake and pill on the market, but they're unwilling or unable to just make an adult decision. I'm not going to use sugar for 30 days and then actually execute on it. This is always, not that it's a mystery to me, but it should be in our observational theme a mystery to you. It's like, wait a minute, why can't I do this? Why is it not possible? I've tried it 3, 4 times and I fail on day 5 or 7 or 10. Why is that? What is that craving? What is that draw? What is that need? You know what I mean? I just don't want that to be your Achilles heel. I don't want that to hold you back this time. So that's why we're trying to give you this observational. Um, what do you call the name of the event? The
Sugar
con
conscious
the sugar
consciousness.
observational holiday podcast, so that you're just going through this whole thing. You're above your body. You're above the Thanksgiving dinner table, and you're just saying, "Okay, now I see. Now I see." And you'll be prepared for January 1st.
Okay, that sounds good. And you said that you quit 3 or 4 times. No, I think it was like 30 or 40 times for me.
I was
I tried and tried and tried and tried. So, yeah, I think the word that you brought up was acceptance, and I think that's really key. That's really important to accept. Like I think, this time around for me, I've accepted. I did not want to accept this. I
right,
did not want to accept that I cannot eat food like a normal person does, whatever a normal person does.
right.
That I have issues, and I have issues with sugar and flour, and I will always have issues with sugar and flour. I still have this little tiny bit of hope that maybe someday I'll be able to manage my sugar and flour. But I think that deep in my heart, I understand that the way that it's going to be managed is by not eating it.
Mm,
you know like that's the way. And by the way, there's plenty of food that I'm eating that's absolutely wonderful. I am enjoying my meals. I am eating um, no sugar, no caffeine, and no flour. Now, do I miss my coffee? Absolutely. I'm not going to lie about that. I miss my coffee. But, like this morning, I made egg salad to eat for breakfast. And I thought, oh God, I don't really even like egg salad. And it was delicious. It was so good,
yeah,
and I put celery in it, and I did put a little tiny bit of some apple in it, and I put some spices in it, and it was wonderful. And so you have to, you know, there's a mind shift that goes on with it too.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's this kind of. So thanks for telling me. You're not alone, by the way. Most people quit 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 times. Um, but yeah, it's definitely an acceptance thing. And that's what this conscious observational holiday podcast is about. To just take a look at your past behavior, the present behavior, what's going to go on this holidays, and see if the nuances that we've described over the whatever amount of these podcasts you've listened to might apply to you. And then be humble enough or accepting enough to say to yourself, okay, maybe I am. I heard this thing, I really liked it. It was Connie Bennett's first book. She probably doesn't even remember she wrote it, but I remembered it distinctly to this day. So there was this guy. He was way ahead of his time. This is 20 years ago, 15, however long she wrote that book, uh, years ago. And he ran a weight loss clinic and a metabolic health clinic. And he would say to people, he was struggling financially and a lot of reasons. He would say to people, "You're addicted to sugar." And they'd recoil, and they'd say, No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And he just did one little tweak and he said, you may have a slight sugar dependency. And they say, yeah, that might be me. I might have a slight sugar dependency.
Mm,
And he grew from one clinic to 5 clinics inside of, like, I don't know, a very short period of time. And
interesting.
so the way that you speak to yourself, the way that you talk to yourself, okay, you're not an addict. I confer, you're not an addict. But maybe, just maybe, after all this struggle and pain and weight and health issues, you may have a slight dependency on sugar. And if that's the case, okay, start there. You know what I mean? Start there. But
Excellent.
make this holiday an observational time where you start to, the Thanksgiving of it all. Like, go back to the core of it and, give thanks for your health today and your kids' health and whatever. And that maybe that you've discovered, Cammy, and that you can see that there's, I always say, let the information light on you. Let this information, let this observation, let this consciousness light on you over the next 45 days, and then see if in January you're not really ready and convinced. So, you know, I've tried everything, Cam. I really have. I've tried fear. I've tried shaming. I did not really, but I've tried being direct. I don't know how I can do a Mr. Spock mind meld where I can take the information I've learned from 50 plus thousand people and put it into your head so that you accept the possibility that this little white powder might have a little bit more control over your life than you thought it did.
Yeah. Wow. And we're here. Like, I'm here. Mike's here. The community is here. We have a whole wonderful community of people
Right.
through sugardetox.com that is very knowledgeable, very experienced, doing the work day in and day out, which really for me is a one day at a time thing. That's the only way that I can get through this whole business of no sugar, no flour, and no caffeine. It's one day at a time for me. And that's been really helpful. And we have a lot of people around to help you when you're ready to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. Subscribe and comment and think about your holidays on a conscious level. Get yourself up above your body, watch what you do, observe, be aware, and come and be with us when you need to.
We're ready. Start today or start January 1st. Doesn't matter.
We're ready and we're here. We're not going anywhere.
That's right.
All right, everybody. Take care. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.